Alright, we're ready to actually break our blocks. So we made the blocks and we've detected the blocks. It's time to finally deal with actually destroying the blocks. And this shouldn't be too hard to do, so let's get started. Right, I'm going to add some more variables to my class here. The first thing that I'm going to add is a Boolean value. We'll say true if player is breaking block, false otherwise. So, and this is a Boolean, B is breaking. And this is useful for a bunch of stuff. Basically, when we click the left mouse button down, we're going to make it break, and when we let go of the button, we're going to stop breaking. And this is very useful. We want to know when the player is clicking, obviously. We don't want to just be destroying blocks. We want to only destroy the blocks if the player's holding the mouse button down, right? The next thing to add is a couple of functions. So we're going to say called when hitting with a tool. So also, you'll notice I have this wieldable class. We're not dealing with this yet, don't worry about that. We'll go into that in another tutorial. I'll show you guys how to add that and set that up. But we won't be dealing with wieldable until tutorial 5 or so don't worry about that. Anyways, we're going to add void on break. Well, we'll call it on hit, I guess, because we're more hitting with the pickaxe, aren't we? And then we'll have end hit. I'm going to put another function in here. This one's going to be plays the mining animation. And we're going to say void play hit anim. So this function plays the hit animation for the pickaxe. It plays the animation of swinging the pickaxe or whatever. Now, like I mentioned in other tutorials, I don't have an animation for swinging the pickaxe, so I'm just going to use the firing animation, but we do still need a function for this. Alright. The last thing that I'm going to add in the header file here is just a couple of timer handles. And I'm going to add a timer handle. One of them is going to manage the block breaking, so we're going to say block breaking handle. And one more is going to be the hit anim handle. So this first one is the time between breaking blocks. And if we have a really high level tool like a diamond pickaxe, this is going to be a very short time, right? We're going to be able to break through the block very quickly. But maybe we have a really bad weapon, or we don't have a weapon at all, or a tool at all. It might take a long time, so this will be equal to a higher value. And then the hit animation, basically, when we're breaking a block down, we want to keep swinging the pickaxe. You know, you don't just swing the pickaxe once and then hold down and it breaks the block or whatever. The character keeps swinging his pickaxe until it breaks. So we're using a timer to time between pickaxe swings, basically. The timer is just basically managing the animation. Alright, let's get started. Actually, there is one more function we need, and it's break block. So, called when we want to break a block. And blocks get broken in stages, but we'll go into that a little bit later on. So, we're going to add a void break block. Alright, so the sort of hard stuff's out of the way. Check for blocks has been implemented and it stores it inside of current block. We got that far in the last tutorial. That's sort of all the hard work done. The rest of it's actually quite easy. The first thing we're going to do is just make this function play hit anim, because this is the easiest function by far. So what we're going to do is we'll go to our on fire and just paste the animation and put it inside of here. That's all we're doing for that. I've just made a new function for that because it's kind of nice. A little bit cleaner. Okay, let's see here. I guess the next thing to do is to implement these on hit and end hit functions. Now, when it comes to the on hit and end hit functions, we need to actually map the input for these. So if you go into the editor and go edit, project settings, input, and then click plus to add a new one. As you can see, I've already done so. Mine's called interact, and I've mapped that to the left mouse button. Now, you're going to have two action mappings. You're going to have jump and you're going to have fire. You can literally just rename fire to interact. So just rename that and you can just close this. There's no save button or anything. So once that's closed, we can set up input. Now, I've already actually done that, but let's just reset it up just so you guys... So when you guys have it, you'll have some sort of fire thing in here, but inside of this if statement here, inside of setup player input component, we're going to actually map these functions. So call the bind action function here, and we'll pass an interact because that's what we called our action. And I'm going to say when we press down the interact button or key, then go ahead and call this function, which is onHit. And then we can just copy this and actually just paste this in. I'm going to say end hit. So basically, when we click down the left mouse button, on hit will be called, and when we release the left mouse button, end hit will be called. Pretty simple stuff. So let's go ahead and make those. Those are pretty easy functions to do. So we'll start with on hit. So inside of onHit, we're going to start by just playing the hit animation. So when you click the left mouse button, your character swings their pickaxe or their sword or whatever you have equipped, right? That's pretty standard. Then the other thing to do actually is to check if the current block is null or not. So check, are we actually looking at a block? Is there a block in front of the player? If there is a block in front of the player and we've clicked down, we are now breaking a block. So set B is breaking to true. And now we want to get the time between breaks. So we'll say float time between breaks. And I mentioned what this did before. Basically we're saying how good is the tool we're using. If we have a diamond pickaxe, the time between breaks is going to be very fast. If we have a stone pickaxe or something, it's going to be a bit slower, right? We're going to say get the resistance of the current block. Now I have resistance inside of current block. You won't have that. You're going to get a little red underline under resistance, but that's fine. Then we're just going to divide this value by 100 and then divide that by 2. Now 2 is a hard-coded value that I've put in there right now, but later on we're going to change this to say current tool power or something like that. So depending on how powerful our tool is, maybe it's a diamond pickaxe or whatever, it's going to break the block a lot faster. For now though, I'm just going to use the value 2 and just hard code that in there because we haven't actually got onto making tools and stuff like that yet. The last thing to do is just to set a timer to break the block and swing the pickaxe over and over again, right? So to do that we're going to use the get timer manager. I'm going to set timer. We're going to pass in the block breaking handle. And we're going to call break block. We'll then pass in time between breaks and then pass true in. Now we're going to set a second timer, and this second timer is going to be the time between when your character swings their pickaxe or whatever. So this is going to be play hit anim. And we could use time between breaks, but what that would do is if we are breaking the material very slowly, your character swings their pickaxe slow. If you break it faster, it breaks it faster, and that just looks stupid, right? So we're just going to hard code this to be 0.4. So that means your character will swing their pickaxe, or their whatever it is, every 0.4 seconds. Also, we'll put in hit anim handle here. And that's basically everything set up for our on hit. The next thing is the end hit, which is very similar, by the way. So inside of end breaking, we're going to say get the timer manager again, and then clear the timer, and pass in block breaking handle. And then we're also going to clear the hit anim handle. And there we go. Finally, since we've released the left mouse button, we are no longer breaking any blocks, so just go ahead and set that to false. And then again, just check if the current block is still in front of us. If it is, then what we're going to do is we're going to say reset the block. And again, you guys are not going to have reset block yet, so that will have a red underline underneath it. That's okay, don't worry about that. The red underline will go away later on when we create this function. And this function will be created inside of block, but I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to do that in just a few minutes. So with that being said, that's pretty much everything. The last thing is this break block function, which is actually a very simple function. All we're saying here is if we are holding down the left mouse button, so if we are breaking, and if there is a block in front of the player, and is the current block not already pending kill? If all of these things are true, then go ahead and call the break function on the current block. And again, you guys will have a red underline under that. But anyways, we can get into showing you guys how to implement those functions, and you will no longer have red underlines under those functions. So when I get back, I'll show you guys how to make those functions. Alright, we're back, and we're going to do the block breaking side of stuff. So we're going to work on actually making our blocks breakable at this point. So let's get started on that. We're going to come into the header file here, and we can start writing some code. The first thing we're going to do is add that resistance property that I talked about. So in here we're going to say uProperty, edit anywhere, float, resistance. And I don't really want to say edit anywhere because we're not really going to edit this anywhere. What I'm actually going to say instead is edit defaults only. And then we are going to add a blueprint read write, which is the breaking stage. So the block breaks up in 6 stages, and we use this variable to count through those stages. When the block gets to the 6th stage, it gets destroyed, and it starts at the number 0. I have no idea why I'm getting an error here. I'm pretty sure that's just something weird going on with the text editor, so I'm going to keep writing code. We're going to add a function, and it's going to be called every time we want to break the block down further. So basically break it down another stage. We also need reset block, which will reset the breaking stage, and it will also reset the graphics on the block. So when we start to break the block down, it starts to get cracked. Well, if you stop breaking the block, it doesn't stay cracked in Minecraft. It actually goes back to being in perfect condition for some reason. So we need that reset block function to reset it. I'm also going to say called once the block has hit the final breaking stage. So once we've fully broken it down, we can call this function, which is onBreak. And I might call this onBroken actually, is probably a better name for it. So we'll also take a parameter b has required pickaxe. Because as you know, some blocks require a certain level of pickaxe to actually be broken down. So, why not add that as well? We'll say uint8 minimum pickaxe. And why not just say actually minimum material? So maybe if it's, I don't even know the blocks really, but I think to break diamond you need at least an iron pickaxe, I think. So, for example, if it was a diamond block, we could set this equal to 3, which would be the iron pickaxe. And again, we haven't added those yet, by the way. We wouldn't set it equal to 3, we'd set it equal to something like eTools diamond or something like that, but for now we'll just leave that. Okay, so inside of the constructor, what I'm actually going to say is we'll just initialize a couple of variables. We'll set the resistance equal to be 20 by default, which is a very low resistance. The block will be broken extremely fast with that level of resistance, but that's okay. We'll be able to change that. Breaking stage, it's always going to be at the first breaking stage by default. And for the minimum material, I'm going to set that equal to 0 for now. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Let's get started on actually making these functions here. And I'm going to start with the break function. So let's create a definition for that. We can go back into the CPP now and make that function. So the first thing we need to do, obviously when we're breaking a block down, is this function breaks at another stage. So what we're going to do is increment breaking stage. We're then going to get a float cracking value and set that equal to 1 minus the breaking stage divided by the amount of breaking stages. In this case, 5 breaking stages. So what we're saying is determine the value of how cracked our block is going to be, and determine that value based on what stage we're at. So if we're only at the first breaking stage, the block's not going to be very cracked. If we're several stages in, the block's going to be very cracked. So now we need to, since we're editing the material at runtime, what we want to do is make a material instance dynamic, and make that a pointer, and we're going to call this mat instance. And you want to set that equal to the mesh, which is sm block, get dynamic material instance. And then just pass in 0, so we're getting the first material. The next thing to do is check if that actually worked. So we're going to say if material instance is not equal to null pointer. So if we successfully got the instance, we're just going to say mat instance set scalar parameter value. We're going to pass in if name, and we're going to put cracking value in there. And then cracking value. So we're saying set the material parameter cracking value equal to this variable, which is called cracking value, and that will crack the block accordingly. Last thing that I want to do is just check, have we actually broken the block? Because we might have broken the block. So we're going to see, is it at the final breaking stage of 5? If it is at the stage 5, it means it's fully broken. So we're going to say Unbroken. And here we do some calculating to figure out, do we have the right pickaxe? But what I'm going to do for now is just set that to true. So we always have the right pickaxe now, but later on we'll add that in to change a little bit. The next thing to do is to actually create a definition for Unbroken. So we're going to do that, and this is a very easy implement. So for now all we're going to do is just put destroy in there. We'll add some more code later, but destroy will sort of fit the purposes for now. Let's add reset block finally. And reset block is very easy. That just sets the breaking stage back to 0 and then clears the cracking on the block, so it changes that material back to its original material. Okay, so all we're going to do in here is just breaking stage equals 0, so reset the breaking stage, get a material instance dynamic mat instance equals sm underscore block get, or sorry, create dynamic material instance 0. And then check if that's null, of course. So mat instance is not equal to null pointer. And then just set the scalar parameter value again. So we're going to say mat instance set scalar parameter value, set that to the cracking value, and then finally 1.0. And there you go, that's pretty much all you need. The last thing to do, I guess that's really it. This should now work, essentially, although, again, kind of relative. You say something's going to work and then it doesn't, but I think I have one problem here, actually, and that's that I call break, and, oh, actually, no, yeah, no, that'll be fine. Okay, I think that should be good. Let's go back into the engine and we'll compile. I'm not going to pause the recording, although it might take like 7 hours for this to finish. You know what, I'll be back when it's finished. So we're back, and I'm in the game. And, oh, ignore that. That's a pickup that I'm playing around with. We'll get to those later. There's a little sneak peek Easter egg or whatever for you guys. Anyways, so, let's see here. I'm going to go into my character. I don't have my pickaxe set, but you guys should have that set. So let's walk up to a block and attempt to destroy it. And no, it's not working, damn it. Something's happening. You know what, I'll be back, and I'll see what the problem is, and I'll start recording when I've found the problem. Alright guys, I'm back, and it was a very stupid error. I just needed to change this second line to say IE released instead of IE pressed. So that was the only problem with the code, and once that's all done, you should now be able to play. Come into the game here, and you can actually now destroy blocks. And that's it. Now, when we destroy our blocks, they don't spawn pickups yet, so we've yet to add that, and we will add that. But for now, we can destroy blocks, so that's kind of cool. Anyways, in the next one, I think we'll actually spawn pickups on the ground. And, you know, when you break a block, a grass block will appear on the ground, and you can actually pick it up. And then we'll go into an inventory, implement HUD, all that stuff. But anyways, guys, I'll see you in the next video.